Viewpoints on the talk station FM 107 AM 1240. Well, we've been talking and focusing on the 3rd Congressional District race, but the 9th Congressional District race in Charlotte, Mecklenburg, Roberson, and, a variety of counties. We'll get those counties here in just a moment. Continues to make news. And, of course, this related to the decision by the Reverend Mark Harris to step down in relationship to the concerns associated with ballot harvesting. And so the topic goes to the State Board of Elections. They opted not to certify that congressional race. It is now going in for another election. But amidst all of it were other concerns. And we have of ballot harvesting, but in certain aspects or certain regions of the 9th Congressional District. And so we've asked Jay DeLancy to join us this afternoon to sort of bring us up to date what those concerns are. He mentioned it when we were chatting with him back during the hearings in which the Board of Elections were considering all the evidence associated with the congressional race between Dan McCready and Mark Harris. Now that has passed, the Board of Elections also had to certify other activities or other elections in that district as well. So with that as background, let's welcome Jay DeLancy of the Voter Integrity Project. And with that, Jay, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Lockwood. How are you?
Well, I'm getting a lecturing. Pardon me. I'm getting a electioneering overload for all intents and purposes. You would think that 2018 was the end, and it's not. It continues into 2019, and then we turn around and we've got the 2020 elections coming as well. So what's happening down in the 9th Congressional District? There were some concerns you expressed back a couple of weeks ago when we were chatting about the events with Mark Harris and Dan McCready, but there are other races also that were in question, were there not?
Yeah, there was the one in particular was the Roberson County. It was a judicial race that was county-wide, and the Republican was widely expected to win it, and he did win it, but then during provisional ballot, it was a close win, and even after absentee, he still had a slight margin of about 40 votes, but then provisionals came in, and he lost. They started counting provisionals, a week later. So they had all these different ballots that the Democrat majority could vote on each ballot based on, whatever information they had, because provisionals are the great unknown where it's whatever, you got 3 board members, you've got 2, the majority is from the governor's party, and the third one is the other leading party in the state for votes. So that would be typically the Republican Party. And, in that case, it's 2 wolves and a sheep voting on which ballots count. And that's what we hate about provisional voting.
So
anyway, he lost.
Let's go back. The Republican, and who is the Republican in this case?
His name is Jack Moody. And Moody lost, but with all that noise they're making about fraud, and that race was not certified. So the state acknowledged there were some problems in that race. But that was many moons ago. And yesterday, without... Go ahead.
Okay, yesterday, without... Continue. I apologize.
Yeah, okay. Without much fanfare, they just voted... it's a state board, 3 Democrats and 2 Republicans, a split decision. The Democrats said, we're going to certify the race. And Moody was surprised because there were all sorts of allegations about up to 50 illegally cast ballots. And there was other evidence they were not allowed to submit because of the rules that they had established about submitting evidence. So they said, no, based on what we got here, no, we're not going to have anything else to do with this. The race is certified. So he has to decide whether or not he wants to sue, not sue, but to appeal at the
State Board of Elections
Superior Court in Wake County, to appeal it. the way the law works, when you appeal a state board of elections, it goes to Raleigh. It goes to the Wake County Superior Court.
Okay, this Roberson County is one of the several counties. What are the other counties making up the 9th Congressional District?
Oh, goodness. Quiz time. Yeah, there's several. I'll give them to you here in a second. But why this matters is the real question. First off, okay, the counties in 9th are a portion of Mecklenburg. Now, we're going west to east now. So we start off with one little corner of Mecklenburg, and then all the counties along the North Carolina line curving south all the way to Roberson. So that'd be Union, Anson, Richmond, Scotland, and Roberson. And then you head north and east, but not south. So then you got a part of Cumberland and a part of Bladen. Okay. So it's a total of, 8 counties?
And, of course, Bladen County was the county in which of concern associated with the McCready-Harris race. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, and what they did was with surgical precision, they went in and they decided that even though Bladen, the absentee ballot count there was nowhere near enough to change the outcome of the election. If you took out all the absentees from Bladen and Roberson, Harris still would have won. But they used a strategy. They hired a guy from Perkins Coie, a guy named Mark Elias, a D.C. attorney, who was very good, and he got Harris up on the stand and just drilled him for so long. Harris started messing up.
All right,
misspeaking.
But okay.
Yeah.
But Mark Harris basically removed himself from the race, and of course now we've got a new race being called by the Board of Elections, State Board of Elections. Now, I want to go back to the situation in Roberson County, and this, of course, related to a judicial race and the two candidates. And I was just looking at it a moment ago. Republican Jack Moody. And you said led the Democrat candidate, Vanessa Burton, and apparently led the candidate for, and this is after canvassing, but before the provisional ballots were considered. Is that correct?
That's my understanding.
Okay. All right.
That he had it won. He actually had it won even after absentee ballots were counted. If the story I read was accurate, I've read conflicting reports on it, but it's he lost it on the provisionals, and he said there was fraud. And originally the state said, "Yeah, you're right," and now they said, "No, never mind. We're done with this." And where this matters is that there was excessive ballot harvesting. We later go to our website, voterintegrityproject.com. There is a lead story on the site that we published last Friday that basically there was some information that went back and forth, and the reports we got was that this information was being suppressed one way or the other to where the state said there was no fraud, and they didn't. The state being the staff telling the board that there was no fraud, and the board agreed, and they certified the election. What we think was going on there was that they were trying to downplay any evidence that, it was the same kinds of circumstantial cases that were prevalent in Bladen County, the same exact kinds of information they were presenting at the hearing on Bladen, only the numbers were bigger. The numbers were much bigger, but it didn't matter in Roberson. And okay. I finally, why did it not matter? And Joan Fleming, the head of investigations, said, well, nobody complained in Roberson.
Right.
And it's like, why even bother doing data analysis if that you have the data screaming at you, but unless you get somebody on the ground who complains, you're not even curious to go look at it. And that they didn't go look.
I'm looking at that website, by the way, voterintegrityproject.com, and it's at the very top of the website when you log on to that location. All right, we're going to take a quick break. Jay, I want to chat with you about the other situations associated with the recent lawsuit and the decision by Judge Collins to throw out 2 of 4 amendments, and one of those being voter ID. So stay with us here as we talk with Jay DeLancy more from Voter Integrity Project, voterintegrityproject.com. You're listening to Viewpoints on the Talk Station. Viewpoints on the Talk Station, FM 107 AM 1240. I was just chatting with Jay a few moments ago. In essence, Jay, before we get to the issue of voter ID, what you were sharing with us a few moments ago was the Board of Elections was only looking at evidence that focused on one person who was bringing in absentee ballots. Am I correct on that? There were others doing it, but they
Correct.
did not. But there were others doing it, but those other names were never introduced as evidence.
Right. There were
Okay,
over 2,000 absentee ballot requests submitted, and they only showed the public the list that had one person submitting a little over 200. So what about the rest of them? Well, they didn't show us that.
Right.
Because it showed people on there that they didn't want us to see.
Okay.
And that's
by the way,
what we're scared about.
My question to you, Jay, before I get to voter ID, is it can the public look at those reports that were submitted by the Board of Elections that Board of Elections, local Board of Elections has on record, or are they denied public access?
Well, they did put the records up that related to Bladen, but what they've done, they targeted all of their evidence toward Bladen because they don't want people to look at the activities. Ballot harvesting is illegal in North Carolina.
Okay, wait.
What's going on?
Okay, hold on.
I'm jumping.
Yes,
okay.
you are. They only wanted to show the information from Bladen County, but not the other counties in that district?
Yes.
Okay. Why?
The evidence was,
why not?
The evidence is called ballot harvesting.
Understood.
And harvesting is illegal. You cannot collect ballots. There's a lot of evidence suggesting there were widespread, much wider than in Bladen, widespread programs in Roberson and Mecklenburg. And yet the State Board of Elections showed no interest in that. When I asked Joan Fleming why yesterday.
And who is Joan Fleming?
She said.
Who is Joan Fleming?
I'm sorry. Joan Fleming. I'm sorry. Yeah. She is the head of the investigations division at the State Board. And her inept answer was, well, nobody complained in those counties.
Okay. All right.
But the data is screaming at you. The data, there's so much evidence just looking at the data, looking at all these.
Okay.
These weird behavior.
All right. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Let me move because we only got about a few minutes. 2 minutes left. The future of voter ID. We've got some elections taking place in both the 3rd and the 9th congressional districts. Will voter ID apply in those districts?
As it stands right now, I don't think it will.
Because of Judge
Even
Collins'
though the law originally.
Because of Judge Collins' decision.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes, that decision will be overturned. The question is, who will do it? I don't know. I mean, it's such an overreach.
Okay, why do you say it's going to be overturned?
He picked 2 laws that were passed by the legislature over a 2-year period and negated those, but none others.
But the argument,
one of those laws created.
But the argument is those are the only 2 laws that were contested in the original suit. The other 2 laws, one related to Marcy's law, and the other one associated with, and I'm trying to remember the other law that was not involved. They just weren't involved in the suit. If they'd been involved,
it was the tax. Yeah.
Tax. No,
sales tax cap. Yeah.
No. My question is, why? So you think it will be overturned? The decision on voter ID.
I think it's such an overreach. Really what it shows is the danger of that lower court ruling that said that the federal court took away the right of the legislature to draw their own districts. And that principle needs to be fixed, and it's headed to the Supreme Court.
Right.
And it will be fixed. Okay, that's you're right. It was Rucho versus Common Cause is the name of the case.
Right. Now,
it'll be heard in March.
So the question is, if it's overturned, if that case is overturned, your contention is then Judge Collins' stay of those 2 amendments will be moot? Yeah,
I'm not an attorney, but
okay. All right.
I look at it and go, okay. He based that on the 4th Appeals Court, the 4th Circuit or whatever they call it, the Richmond court, that said, hey, those districts are illegal. I think the Supreme Court actually ruled on it with Thomas.
Right.
It was a bad ruling. But anyway, this is going to right that, and that Rucho versus Common Cause, the beauty of it is it's mixed in with the Maryland case that had the exact opposite facts, where the Democrats got the advantage through gerrymandering. But in North Carolina.
That has to do with the gerrymandering. Okay, I'm trying to get the answer. So you think that we will have voter ID come 2020 elections? Yes or no?
I believe we will.
Okay.
I believe we will, yes.
All right. Jay DeLancy, voterintegrityproject.com. Jay, as always, thanks for being with us. We appreciate your time here on Viewpoints on the Talk Station FM 107 AM 1240.